I guess we could call it the Pentagon Papers 2.0. And it's a release of information about what's really going on in Ukraine and how the government is telling us one thing and another thing is going on.
Is the American CIA stealing Russian intel and giving it to Ukraine intel? Answer, yes. If that's not a definition of America at war with Russia, I don't know what is.
And Putin said it, America's at war with Russia. We had Lloyd Austin, again, who you mentioned, our Secretary of Defense, who formerly sat on the board of directors of Raytheon, that American advisors were on the ground in Ukraine because of the complexity of the weapons and saying that we had to make sure that, they didn't go in the wrong direction.
Correct.
So in other words, the Americans are firing the weapons at the Russians.
Correct.
These are evil, demented people. And when are people going to grow up and stop listening to them and swallowing their lies? Again, America, if we don't have a renaissance, to me, it's over. It's over. This country's just going to go down. They never brought Bush, Cheney, Wolfowitz, any of them up on charges for lying about this. But the big news every damn day, like I give a damn, is about Donald Trump.
Lying us into war is part of their repertoire, Gerald.
America could go anywhere it wants, and now we're bringing more troops and fighting more in Syria. What right does America have to be in Syria? And there's no blowback at all, and the American media totally bans those of us who speak out against America's illegal invasion of other nations.
Every Wednesday, things are worse than the previous Wednesday, politically, financially, militarily, culturally. And the American public needs to wake up to it. COVID was a dry run. They're going to try and do this again. We were a nation of sheep the way we caved. Some people resisted in Canada, and many of them lost their jobs because the government became a totalitarian, and people have to be ready for this the next time it happens. Their collective thinking is that Ukraine's air defenses have been horrifically degraded by the Russians, and by the end of next month, which is just 6 weeks away, June 1st, more or less, the Ukraine air defenses will be worthless. It also revealed their collective view that Ukraine is losing this war. Now, knowledgeable of that, Defense Secretary Austin, he a former four-star, he a former member of the board of Raytheon, as you point out, the second largest military contractor in the United States, lied when he told the Senate Armed Services Committee, things are going well, it's going to be a good spring for Ukraine. We expect Ukraine to push the Russians back in the winter. They expect the exact opposite.
Does the government work for us, or do we work for the government? Can the government morally steal data about allies and enemies and then make it a crime to reveal the data, even when the revelation shows that the government has been lying about killing? When the First Amendment states that, quote, Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech, does it really mean no law? And you go on talking about how these documents are coming out about the Ukraine war, which, by the way, is not a proxy war. The United States is at war, as I see it, with Russia.
The Russians kill 7 Ukrainian soldiers for every 1 Russian that the Ukrainians kill. Now, any high school student could do the math. I mean, that can't last much longer. Ukraine is already down to the point where they are kidnapping people your age and mine, males your age and mine, and 16 and 17-year-olds, training them for 2 weeks and then pushing them to the front lines, from which, of course, they never returned. So the government has known that Ukraine was about to lose. When Secretary of Defense Austin testified before the Senate Armed Services Committee, he lied by saying, yeah, Ukraine is in great shape. Look for a good spring and look for many battle successes in the winter, because he already knew about this kill ratio. The documents also reveal that the American government has concluded that Ukraine's air defenses will be degraded to, it's an easy number to remember, 0 effectiveness by the end of May. And former 4-star general, former member of the Raytheon board of directors, now Secretary of Defense Austin, knew about that when he materially misled the Senate Armed Services Committee. We have Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, lying under oath to the Congress. We have Jack Teixeira telling his buddies the truth. So which will serve the American public better when they decide whether or not to believe the government? Secrecy or the truth? It's not even a close call.
Ukraine, according to the European Union, is the most corrupt country in Europe. And what happened was, since the Soviet Union broke up, Ukraine has been busted. It broke. And the oligarchs stealing all the money, corrupt as could be. He made a deal with the EU and the IMF to borrow money. And Putin said, I got a better deal for you. I'll give you a lower interest rate and I'll lower the price of the oil and gas that you're buying from us. And he said, okay, we'll go with you. And that's when they overthrew the government. The information about how Ukraine is losing the war and how Lloyd Austin and others are lying about it. How much money has been sent so far?
$68 billion. The CIA can document $400 million in cash stolen, skimmed by Zelensky and his 35 top generals. According to Cy Hirsch, Bill Burns, the director of the CIA, showed up with a list and handed it to the president. He didn't flinch at all. He fired 10 of the generals. The U.S. government didn't ask for the money back. The U.S. government won't deny Cy Hirsch's allegations. Have we stopped giving money to these thieves? No, we continue to give it to them.